There's a new podcast starting. It's called Free Minds. I'm the founder, I suppose. My name's Trey Jackson. I had an injury that kind of caused me to stop and reevaluate my life. I just quit my corporate job where I made $80,000 a year, and I did that because I was really unhappy, and I didn't really have a direction on where I was going. I thought I was just gonna invest in cryptocurrency and do Uber or something for a little bit, and but it's kind of turned into something a lot more than that. I have a blog now, freeminds.life, running a book, and to preface the podcast, I thought it'd be best to just kind of give you a preface of what my book is about, because the two are going to go hand in hand. And the podcast is really about self-discovery, and you're finding your authentic self, who you actually are. So I'm going to read the preface, and that's going to end the preview of the podcast, but this is what the podcast is about, so I'm going to read this. I've always known I'm something more than what comes to the surface. These surface-level ideas and conversations we encounter on a daily basis always left me wondering, where is this really going? What is really the point of all this, if there's even a point at all? I'm not going to tell you who are reading this that there's some aha moment where life all clicks at once and life becomes beautiful instantly. It doesn't. All your problems don't go away. You see, the reality you're experiencing and the people you encounter and meet in your daily tasks, all of that, in its essence, will be exactly the same as it's always been. What's going to change and start to gradually transform, if you allow it to, in parentheses, and trust me, you want to allow this allowing, in parentheses, is your perception of this reality. There's a filter you have over your eyes, and this filter that you have over your eyes on your reality that you are so insistent isn't there has been blocking you from experiencing the real you all of these years. You can take it off, this filter, at any time of your choosing. No one else can take it off for you. No matter how many motivational YouTube videos you watch or how many Tibetan monks you listen to, the filter will always be in place until you as an individual step back and make the conscious choice to remove it. It sounds so simple, and yet it's one of the most difficult decisions and hurdles you will ever have to overcome in your life. The most ironic thing about those hurdles is that you yourself put them there. One day, someone gave you a negative reaction when you decided to be vulnerable, and then you thought, never again. That is so horrifying, to be naked. And we put this armor on, and we forget it's even there. In order to take the filter off, you yourself must remember who you are. There's a quote that goes something like this. In today's society, you're not who you think you are. You're not who someone else thinks you are. You are what you think someone else thinks you are. We are all having a severe tendency in this age where we're all so quote-unquote connected to each other to completely be disconnected from the one person's opinion who ultimately matters, yourself. If you feel lost and you want a quick fix to remember who you are and why you came here, you will have to let a lot of those things that you have previously defined as who you were go. This is a challenge, for with all the mental chatter going on likely in your mind, it's hard to tell what's really you and what's not. Luckily, you've not lost any of who you are. It's all sitting there waiting to be allowed to come out again. Nothing is ever lost, especially never ourselves. If we look earnestly and honestly in the one place that matters, and that's in our heart. If you've been wondering how I came to be in this position to write this book or to do this podcast, soon you may come to realize we may have had similar journeys leading up to this. One, leading me to write this book, and two, leading you to pick it up or make the conscious choice to choose this podcast episode and listen to it. I'm not going to tell you making these choices to be who you really are when everyone else is telling you who you're supposed to be, especially when it comes from a source like our parents, is easy. It makes the path back to source, where we took that detour so many years ago, a little bit cumbersome. It's hard to swim upstream when every other fish says you're a moron and you're doing it wrong. It's hard. But through this process, you come to see the only validation you need and the only peace you need to make is with yourself. And all of those clever little voices in your head will slowly subside. When you get back to source and all the noise is gone, and you can look in the mirror when you wake up and actually feel and see yourself, it makes everything worth it. You realize it was all meant to happen this way, so you could become that strong and passionate person you always knew you were deep down. This book is not so much about me and explaining who I am, but in order for you to learn how to remove your filter, I think explaining my journey and providing real-life examples will be crucial into the ultimate steps to remembering who we are and freeing our minds. To give a general overview of this book and this podcast, I'm going to explain how I got here by jumping around a little bit. I didn't always remember my past, and it took a lot of work to dig it up. I'm going to show you exactly where I was when my world came apart, and then jump back in time in my life to display the way certain tendencies and thought patterns in my life developed. We'll go through some false awakenings, some of my relapses into depression, how I finally decided to climb the ladder for real. I hope me sharing this story with you will help you skip a few of these unnecessary steps I took, and at the end you'll realize you've never actually needed anything from this world or to chase any external material or idea. This is also not a place for comparisons. For comparing one path of one finding oneself to another, we need to understand that we are all different. We are all a unique expression of consciousness, and the point in our being here has never been to compare. It's always been to be the person you've always been inside, to go deep, deep inside and realize this thing you've been seeking, well, you've always had it. All you've ever needed to do was to water that expression inside of you with love, endless amounts of self-love, and that, my friends, is the beginning of truly waking up to who you are. So that's the preface to my book that I'm writing. It's not even close to done right now, but that also talks about what this podcast is about. And sometimes I'll be talking by myself, maybe a 15-minute episode, but a lot of the times I'm going to have other people on, and we're going to talk about where they are in their lives and how, where do they want to be, and who are they, you know? Because it's hard to know who you are when you're surrounded by people that are telling you who you are, or that you feel like are telling you who you are, you know. But deep underneath, under the skin, when we're by ourselves and we're not watching TV and distracting ourselves with our cell phones, whatever it is, and we sit there and we have a moment where we're like, I'm something a lot greater than all this, and I have something important here to do. And it's time for us to wake up and remember what that important thing is that we're here to do, that thing that we're passionate about, that thing that drives us to actually wake up in the morning and say, I matter, and I'm enough, and I'm going to go kick ass today and live a life full of joy, live a life full of love, and live a life full of sharing these experiences with everyone around me. So be who you are, and hopefully this podcast will help you remember who you are.